Alright guys, welcome back to Bishop Shadow's vlog, and we're going to start talking about the new series that I did, a little mini series called Max Nostalgia. What games need a next gen release, reboot, or update? To explain to you the basis of the videos that I've been showing, really every single game that I've showed, which has been about 10 or 11 videos, basically all of these games need a next gen update. You know, these are games that should have been made by now. There's no reason for anyone to just kind of ignore them, but some of them need more help than just a next gen update. Some of them do need to be changed a lot. Some of them just need to be slightly updated. They don't really need major changes, and I will go per game which I feel really needs to be just released, like, released in this gen, or it needs to be completely changed, redone, and then put into what a game should be done in this generation, or just needs to be slightly updated. It doesn't really need too much of a change. Just needs to be on a PS3, Xbox 360, something like that. Okay, so I'm trying to keep everything in order, and the first game I would like to talk about it. Most of these games I didn't get to play as a kid, and this is one of them. Astal was one game I really wanted to play badly as a kid. It was one of the last video games that I remember looking in a electronic gaming monthly mag. I remember reading in that particular magazine, and it was talking about this game, and they were comparing it a lot to Sonic, but then again they were like, it's nothing like Sonic. You're not running all through this like crazy, and it has very great graphics, and all of it was hand drawn. Even today the graphics still look like they're 3D, and I think that was the purpose of the game, to give it that look without it actually being that look. It was like shell shading before there was ever shell shading. At this point, the main reason why I want this game to get a next gen release is really, it just needs to be updated. I would love it to have like like a part 2. It doesn't necessarily need one if you played the game, or if at least you've seen it. But in this case, it probably should just start all the way over. Have it as just a next gen release. Give it a new, fresh look. Something that would show what next gen has to offer. And I most definitely do not put it on like an Unreal Engine. Like, please don't do that. Please don't do that. But at least bring this game to the younger crowds, the little kids. This is something I would love to have my son or daughter play if they were alive to play it, and pretty much just get to enjoy something that I never even got a chance to play. And I'm watching the playthroughs on YouTube, and I'm just going like, man, I really wish I got to play this game. I would have played the hell out of it. I don't know if I would have ever beat it, but I probably would have played the crap out of it. But it was great. Everything's great about it. I love how everybody is like bilingual. Because in game he's Japanese, but when he does the voiceover, he's not Japanese anymore. I will say that with this game, the only thing I didn't like about it, it did have some Christian overtones. I mean, you got a pretty much a female goddess that creates humans and doing all that stuff. I was like, wow, y'all really went there. I was like, I don't think my mom would have liked that. Now that I think about it. Other than that, man, it's still one of those games that to this day a lot of people who played it love it. The music's great, and it really needs it needs more life. I wouldn't even mind it if it just got an HD release. I would be happy with that if we can just get that. But we're talking about Sega here. Next game that I have on my mind will be Sweet Home. This is the game that pretty much started the survival horror genre. I won't sit there and say it's the grandfather or the big bang of survival horror, but it was the first one to combine survival horror with RPG element. That is probably the best thing I've heard in my entire life. I remember seeing this game, but I didn't really pay attention to it. I've seen it in the Nintendo Power magazine, and I also saw it in Electronic Gaming Monthly as a kid. But when I saw that it was only going to be released in Japan, I pretty much ignored it. Now seeing it as an adult, I kind of wish I did get to play this game too. The only thing I didn't like about it, oh my God, this is one thing that I want to say to anyone that's just now getting into next gen gaming. I better not ever hear you complain about any game that has any form of backtracking. Play Sweet Home first, then come talk to me about that. I was watching the videos and I was just ripping my hair out. I was like, oh my God. No wonder Resident Evil is what it is, because it based every single thing off of this game. Just about every element came straight out of Sweet Home. The only thing they kept out was the RPG. Now, just think about that. If they took everything from Sweet Home, think about if Resident Evil was an RPG. In my opinion, that's what Outbreak should have been. You know, a lot of people love RE Outbreak. It had a lot of great elements to it. It just had a crazy loading time. That would be one of my honorable mentions, but one thing I want to get straight before I go any further. Yes, this was published by Capcom, but I want to not do too many Capcom games. Most of the games that I grew up playing, they were Capcom games. You can call me a Capcom fanboy if you want to, but I played basically whatever was a great game. I didn't care who made it. You know, that goes for Gungrave. You know, I didn't care that wasn't a Capcom game. That was a Sega game. Didn't care. That game was great. The second one, it had its quirks, but that was still good too. But when it comes to Sweet Home and that element of RPG, wow, that was great. The only thing I found hilarious was you can find an axe, sword, and all this other stuff, but the most broken weapon in the game was the pitchfork. Like, are you serious? The pitchfork was the strongest weapon? Yeah. You can pretty much demolish and level up all your characters if they have a pitchfork. They're tearing stuff apart. The funny thing that I like about this game also is that you could switch out items, but when you played Resident Evil, if you had an item, you had to keep it. You know what I'm saying? Even if it was useless, you still had to keep it. You didn't get a chance to get rid of that stuff until later versions. But Sweet Home was ahead of its time. Now, I don't want this game to be re-released as a reboot or anything like that. If you've seen the movie, you know the movie is B-movie. It really is. There's nothing too awesome about this movie unless you really love movies like that. But when it comes to the game, the only thing I would want to have in the next gen is a next game just like this with those elements. Survival horror mixed with, RPG. This would probably be a reboot of the genre instead of the game. The game, it is what it is. Keep it. I mean, the things that the movie did well, the game didn't do well. The things that the game did well, the movie didn't do well. In my opinion, there were two entities talking about the same exact thing, but they didn't do everything exactly the same. For example, all the characters are in the game, but all the characters don't make it. There's only a few in the movie that make it, but in the game, it depends on you. If those characters died, they died in the same exact way, no matter how they died. When you see them die, the guys always get cut in half. The girls always, face paint a wall with blood every time. Doesn't matter. You can die by quicksand. Somehow this lady went through a damn wall. It doesn't matter. But I will say that the game wasn't scary. It was an NES game. If I was playing that game when it came out, it was 89, so I was about 8 years old. Yeah, that game would have messed with me a little bit, just a little bit. And I think mainly because of the music, but in the environment. I never liked really scary games anyway. I never played Friday the 13th, even though that game wasn't scary. I seen somebody play it and I was watching and I was just like, yeah, I still don't like this game. I was like, nah, man, I'm good. You throwing rocks at people. I'm like, that's your only weapon? Nah, dog, I'm good. But like I was stating, this would be a great idea. This would be great for any company to do. It has nothing to do with Capcom, like I stated. Just somebody, if you're listening to this and you're in the gaming industry, please try to make a game like this. But it doesn't have to be, like Final Fantasy style, because that's what people are thinking when they look at this. But when it comes to just this genre, it needs an update. we need to get some games like this. Soon we get some games like this, I think you will start a new niche genre, and people will probably really love it. There's probably somebody sitting here screaming at the screen like, there's somebody already doing that in Japan. It already came out, but guess what? It's not in America or Europe now, is it? Exactly. We need probably like a Western style, or just anyone to do it at this point, and make sure that it is the masses can play it, not just one region. So look at it like that. Okay, the third game I believe was Evil Zone. Play the hell out of this game. This is one game I played a lot. Between this and Project Justice or Rival School, most definitely. This was one of those games where it was simple enough that it had a deep enough engine that it was like, why wasn't anybody playing this game? And it's funny, if I go online, a lot of people were like, yeah, I fucking love that game. And I love everything about it. The only thing I didn't like about it was the bad voiceovers when it came to the cutscenes, which really wasn't their fault. This game was made Japanese. It was a Japanese game made first, so everything is done in the speed of the voice actors in Japan. So you could be saying one sentence and it's about 2 seconds long, and Japanese is about 8 seconds long. So that's just how it goes. But I loved all the characters. This was probably the very first fighting game, and I've been playing Street Fighter since day one. This was probably the first one where I absolutely loved every character. Not just iconic, not iconic characters. These are just characters that represented. It was almost like a parody of every Japanese character you could think of at that time. In the late '90s, that was going out. You had Danzawa, you had Ikadoka, you had Midori, you had Lai, all these characters, man, and they all represented something in the Japanese anime that you love. And I really hated when I beat this game that, when you finally beat it with everyone and you unlock everything, they give you this long just voiceover of them just talking, and they're just talking shit like, yeah, the second one's gonna come out, Never happened. This is why I'll sit there and say this game most definitely will probably need a update. We need a part 2. Evil Zone Part 2. Something's got to happen. You can't just let it end like that. All the dynamics of the game was great. The mechanics was great. The fighting style was great. All the things you could do based on distance, the training mode, the music, the unlockables. You can unlock artwork. There was before DLC. Everything about this game was great, and I paid $20 for this game, and I basically got about $80 worth of entertainment out of it. Even to this day, I still love this game, and there's a lot of people that will still tell you to this day they love it too. So based on love, I would say this game most definitely needs to be represented again. It really does. Which goes into the next fighting game that really had a good run, but for some reason, 2012, which we're talking about, Psychic Force 2012, pretty much everybody dies. Something happens to somebody, some way, somehow. It's a weird game. I hate that they did that. I remember I did buy the VHS, well, at this time was DVD, of those series, and yeah, I was lost in a lot of it because I had just got into this game within when it was released with 2012. I had no idea it was released on the PS2. I just had a Dreamcast, so it was pretty much the same damn game, just on different versions. And I think the Dreamcast by far was the best version. Someone will probably argue that, but I'm just going based off of how everybody else played it. But Mike, Keith, Byrne, they had some really bad names. Emilio Estevez. No, I'm joking, but you know what I mean. Everything was great about these games, and that's why I kind of looked at it like with Evil Zone, and then I look at Psychic Force. These games went hand in hand. They had their own identity. They had their own way of playing, their own styles. Gudef was, oh my god, he was broken. If you really know how to abuse a lot of his moves, he'll make you not want to play anymore. But Was Gudev top tier? I don't remember. He might have been. But I think everybody named Mama played the hell out of Emilio and Robert. I think it was those two players was pretty much broken. But Keith and Byrne, in my opinion, were very OP. They were very overpowered. But I still love those games. This is something that I would probably say it needs a reboot. And a light reboot. Not a hard reboot. Not like DMC hard. But a light one. Like, just bring it back. Pretend like all that stuff never happened. But bring it back. Include some more characters. Get a slightly better story. Have stuff make a little bit more sense. And just go from there. Because this is one game that, yes, it did get an HD release, but it only got an HD release in Japan. That pissed me off. Because I was like, I want this game. I would have got it off of PSN like a mug. Like, I would pay $10 for that. $9.99. I want it. Release it. Did they release it? Nah. It's just sitting there. That's a damn shame. So, and the thing is, Japan still plays it. They still play this game. Just like a lot of Westerns will call it obscure fighters. I'm like, no, these are the top tier fighters. This is the games that you should never stop playing, like Marvel vs. Capcom 2. These are those type of games. You don't stop playing these games. You just keep getting better at them. Next one, I believe that is the Nightshade and Shinobi series. And I only got to play Nightshade. I didn't like Nightshade. I'm just being perfectly honest with you. I remember a lot of people loved the hell out of Shinobi. Every time I tried to get that game, I either had to decide on some other game when I was working at Toys R Us, because they had the, if you remember, in October they usually have a buy two get one free. And usually for some reason Shinobi would be like $29.99. And it'd been out for like 2 years. And I'm like, I'm not paying $30 for this game. You know what I'm saying? And I would go to the register to make sure because sometimes the guys that worked at Toys R Us, they didn't always update the prices. You just have to just learn out about it. So I went there and checked on it. Still too high. I was like, nah, man, I'm not gonna get this game. So I ended up getting other games like Galarians, which I'll talk about later. And this is when I bought Devil May Cry 2 for the first time. But I only saw playthroughs of Shinobi. I never got to really sit down and play that one. After seeing Shinobi and then thinking about how I played Nightshade, it was practically the same game. And then on top of that, if you beat the game enough, you could literally play as Shinobi anyway. So I'm like, okay, whatever. Just whatever, man. Whatever you want to do. But this is one game. After Metal Gear Rising has come out, I think it's a little too late. But this is one thing that will probably need a serious reboot one more time. I mean, Shinobi has had like 18,000 different versions. I know I'm exaggerating, but seriously, they really had a lot of different versions. My favorite version was Shinobi 3. For the Sega Genesis. That was absolutely my favorite. Played the hell out of that game. Still never beat it, but played the hell out of it. I would love to have a game with both characters in it with co-op. And it could be certain missions, it could be all missions. It's just something needs to be done with this game. These are two games that kind of went out a little too fast. And something needs to be done. I mean, that's all I can say. And this is why I was thinking, when I was thinking about Nightshade and then I played Bayonetta, I was like, damn, these games do have a lot in common. But I'm not going to go there right now. I'm just going to keep it at, this most definitely needs more than an HD release. I wouldn't want that. It has to be something better than that. This needs a serious update, a light reboot, but with a massive update, something that you can really do with the graphics and the platforming. And it was a button masher like a motherfucker with serious timing. It was strict. I mean, the reason why I never beat Nightshade was because of what you have to do on the last level. Literally, there's a lot of spots where you have to do everything in the air, and if you don't do it right, you're dead. I couldn't deal with that, so I just said, you know what, that's okay. Y'all can keep it. So this goes to the other games. The other games that I'm thinking of right now, that would be the Demento and slash Hunting Ground. Same exact game, different names. This is one game that it kind of seemed like it tried to reboot Clock Tower, and it went in a completely different direction, and it was a good game. It just wasn't a great game. This is one of those, it could have been a 6.5, 7.5, depending on who you talk to. I played the hell out of this game, but it frustrated me a lot. I really didn't like the alchemist element of it, when you had to create weapons, and half of the time they were useless. You know, most of the time you needed Huey to do all the work. And when I was seeing some of the people who really played the hell out of the game 10 times more than I did, I was like, you could do that? You know, I didn't know you could do that. Like, wow, I did miss out a lot. I would describe to you the last time I played Demento. I was in the garden where if you go listen to what Huey says, he says it sounds like a vegetable that needs to shut up. That's what those little screaming plants. I had ran into that area, and she was hysterical at the time. And when she's hysterical like that, you can't control her. She's very vulnerable and she's easy to kill. Well, the main girl caught up with me, and I guess that's one thing, you can't really tell if your energy is low or anything. Is just kind of like you're in that situation, you're dead. Well, she killed me, and I'm at my friend's house. This was actually my god brother. He has this shit set up on a surround sound system, and we're just playing it. He had a lot of bass, big woofers and shit, and we're just listening to this, and she's just ripping old girl apart. You don't get to see it, you get to hear it. And it was just like, I'm looking at him, he's looking at me, and I'm like, I'm done with this game. I said, I'm done with this. I was like, that's too much. Because I was like, damn, I can't control this bitch. I ran into one of those damn floating spears that automatically makes you freak out, which I did not like. There was a lot of stuff in this game I liked, and there was a lot of stuff I'm just like, man, we could have did without. Y'all didn't need that. But I will say, I would love to see this game as a movie. This was probably could have been a pretty decent movie, depending on how you go about it. It just got annoying after the third guy is chasing you, which I showed in the clip, where he's pretty much telling you that he's lived for thousands of years and they're clones and crap like that. Because I never even got to that part. So I was like, whoa. When I finally got to see it on YouTube, I'm like, this game was nuts. I was like, I'm glad I stopped playing it. Because there was so many parts where I would die for no reason. I'm trying to get Huey to tell me where to go. Huey's just kind of looking at me like, fuck you, nigga, I ain't got time for this. Oh, racist dog. And I'm like, okay, man. I don't know how you know I'm black, but okay. He ain't listening to me. I accidentally kicked him once. He got in the way. I'm like, get out of the way, dude. Get out of the way. It just didn't work out. It didn't work out. But to be perfectly honest with that game, I kind of wish you were getting chased by the... I'm thinking of the movie called Goonies. You already know who I'm talking about. Chuck. Hey, you guys. Yeah, him. I think the game would have been scary if they kept it that way. Because that dude was creepy. And there was parts, and the funny part, I don't know if I'm the only one that saw this, because every time I look at everybody's playthrough, he never does this. I don't know if I was imagining it, but I remember talking about God, but I was like, do you remember that part? He was like, I remember that. I literally, when you first encounter this dude, and he gets rid of his doll, he grabs his crotch. He just moves around, he's like, and I was like, oh, hell no, this dude's trying to rape me. I was like, this bitch gotta run, bitch, run. But when I look at everybody's playthrough, they never show him do that. Never. I never see it. Even the Japanese dudes don't even show that. So I'm like, man, whatever. But this game was still good, even though I never beat it. This one needs a severe reboot, because it had some good elements. It has some things going for it. But this is one thing I get tired of. The helpless female. I think it's the 21st century. Women aren't that helpless. We have too many women that they're either too afraid to fight, or they just don't know how. And there might be some women that you know personally, but when I look at the women that I know personally, oh, these women know how to fight. Either they're gonna fight you with their mouth, or they're gonna fight you literally. And she don't really fight, and that's why I didn't like. I would have been fine if she found a stick or something and started hitting people upside the head. And I didn't like the fact that one of the enemies has a musket gun, and he can't really shoot with it. What's the point of you shooting this girl if you want her alive? Are you serious? What's the point of trying to kill this girl? And that's why I kept sitting there saying in the whole movie, why is she dying? I mean, you know, and I'm still looking at it as a movie because I'm like, it really should be a movie. But in this game, why is she even dying? There's no reason for her to die, because everybody there's only like one person that really wants her dead. Everybody else wants her alive, or one is going to unintentionally kill her, which will be the giant dude, because he wants to hump. he horny, and I don't blame him. She runs through the game with no bra on, like 100% of the game. What you expect? She got some tigos. So yeah, the dude's horny. He gonna be chasing that down. He tired of dials. He's like, I want the real thing now. But yeah, that game needs a severe reboot. You could probably throw in Clock Tower if you want, but we can do something with that series. And unfortunately it's Capcom, so that'll never happen. But we're gonna move on to the next one, which is Space Harrier. I'm gonna fly through this one because we've seen so many different versions of Space Harrier. We even seen a new version from Bayonetta with Space Harrier, which you're listening to music from, with their own little remix. But yeah, with Space Harrier, I played the hell out of that in a motherfucking Sears during Christmas. My mom was mad as hell because I would not get off that game. It was the first time I seen it. I had never seen a game like it. And there were kids watching me play, and I was getting far too. First time playing it, and I remember it took me forever to die, even because more my mom got mad at me. She thought I was gonna die. I was like, I'm not dying yet. I'm not dying yet. So I remember, I can understand when when they think of Space Harrier, yeah, that was a great game. Now that one really needs a severe update, not a reboot, just an update. And I think you could do it. I think you could pull it off. And since HK, as you probably know, is Kamiya, he loves that game. He really does. So that would be the person to do it. If you think about anybody to do this game, it would have to be Platinum Games and HK. Let him do it. He knows his stuff. He collects the hell out of these games. He even has this game in his apartment. You know, the actual arcade. He has this stuff. So that's letting you know somebody lives and breathes the game. This would be somebody to do it. So that's what I'm sitting there saying. Breeze through that. Yeah. Update it and let this guy work on it. Because technically he's already done it with Bayonetta. He's already done it. So why not let him do it officially? So that's just something to think about. But Sega, once again, they're hard-headed. We don't know what they're thinking. So the next game that's on the list, I believe that is Strider. I chose Strider 2 because that was the very last version of Strider. And I just think Strider in general, which I will point out before I get into this statement, they did try to reboot Strider. They were going to. Capcom was going to reboot Strider until they had such a backlash with DMC. Once they realized that and one of the pictures leaked and everybody got pissed at that too, yeah, they backed out quickly. They backed out real quickly. So they was like, no, don't do it, leave it alone. And this is what kills me. It's like, why would you reboot something that you don't own? Capcom doesn't own the rights to Strider. They didn't come up with that character. Somebody else did. Okay, you gotta remember that's a manga character. So he's been around since the 80s. There's no reason for you to try to do anything else with this character. To be perfectly honest, Metal Gear Rising is our Strider right now. I don't know about anybody else, but that's my Strider. And that's how I've always looked at it. I was like, this is exactly what I was kind of hoping to get with Strider. Strider 2 was great. There's a few people that will remember this, but when I bought Strider 2, the disc, because it came with the, it was 2 discs. The first disc was supposed to be Strider. The second disc was supposed to be Strider 2. I was one of the people that got Strider 2 on Strider 1 disc and Strider 1 on Strider 2 disc. And I remember confusing the hell out of my god brother on purpose because I didn't want him to get my Strider 2 because I didn't want him damaging my disc. I was like, you can play Strider all you want to. That game hard as hell. That game it is really hard. It took me years of devotion and time to beat that game. And I got to the very last part on Sega Genesis. I only could beat it on PSX. Because the part I got to is where the dragon and you gotta stay on it. I kept falling off on the Sega Genesis part, but when I was playing it on, for some reason when I was playing on PSX, no issue. Man, got a bitch. I kept dying at different parts that I never died on the Sega Genesis one. I was like, this game is weird. It's always messing with me. But yeah, these are games that I played at the arcade. I played on Sega Genesis, played on PSX, loved the hell out of it. Strider 2 did a lot of great things. I love the artwork. The only thing I can really say about Strider, there needs to be a Strider 3. So this would be a update. This wouldn't be a reboot. Leave that alone. Don't do that. Don't do that. And I remember I was talking on one of my other vids about the Strider 2 that came out. It wasn't called Strider 2, but it was called Strider Returns. That actually was an official game, and I didn't know that. I thought it was a fake. You know, I thought somebody had took the game, did all this, did all that, and then said, yeah, this is what it is. No, that was a real game, and there's real actual gameplay of it. I mean, I knew it existed, but I didn't think it had the same exact. All they pretty much did was copy and pasted everything over to this game and then try to change it over, and it was just bad. And then, you know, changed Strider to a white Strider, which ended up being Strider Hen later on. So that's pretty much what happened with that game. So I'm like, that's bad. That is bad. I'm glad I never got to see that, especially with the album cover. That album cover is bad too. It's really bad. But we'll move on to the next game. I'm trying to remember. Okay, that's Galarians. Okay, this is one game that after a while I got really pissed that I played it. And then the more I played it, because I've gotten so far into it, then I wasn't so mad. But if you were like me, when I got Galarians didn't drop in price, especially from Electronic Boutique. Back when it was still EB back in the day when I got it. I got this game damn near brand new. I remember this game came out full price and it had 3 discs, and I was sitting there thinking to myself, okay, you got between Street Fighter Alpha 3 that you haven't played yet, or this game. Luckily I was smart enough to say Street Fighter Alpha 3, I won't get that. And I paid $14.99 for that. And then I came back, and then the price dropped, and then I just said, screw it, I'll get it. I still shouldn't have got it. I still should have waited a little bit longer. But I'm sitting here with these 3 discs, and I'm just in awe over this game. I'm thinking it's gonna be great. But the thing that was on the back of the game, they try to say, well, if you like Resident Evil, you'll love this game. This game is nothing like Resident. It's nothing like Resident Evil. You're using your psychic abilities. They trying to make it seem like it was survival horror. They had some horrifying scenes. You know, if you see how his mom gets messed up, you see how his dad get messed up. You know, I'm going back to his mom. That was some messed up stuff. That was really messed up. And the only part that got me was I had my headphones on and I was falling asleep playing the game. Now I finally got to his house. And while I was getting there, for some reason they call them rabbits, they were creeping up on the house. It was a cutscene. That fucked with me because I was half asleep and they made that music and I was like, oh shit, what happened? And then when one of them motherfuckers, I'm running down the hallway and one of them jumped down. That was one of the old scare tactics from Resident Evil 2. I was like, man, that still got me. But other than that, that game wasn't scary. There was nothing scary about this game. It just had some messed up parts. But other than that, the game was still good. I remember I did get Galarian's Ash, and when I was working at Toys R Us and I was telling you about the buy 2 get 1 free, I got that game free. Galarian's Ash was okay. when compared to Galarians, it was a little bit better because it had a better flow to it. And in the Galarians, it seemed like you would never get out of that damn hospital. And then when you finally got out of the hospital, you finally got to his house, and then it didn't seem like he was at the house very long. It was just, and then when you finally got to the hotel, it was like, you're never getting out this hotel. The game was a trip. But Galarian's Ash was even weirder, especially the ending. I won't get too much into that, but this is one game I would probably say it can't get an update. It can't get just a next gen release. This one probably would need a hard reboot. It needs to go all the way back from scratch and just keep some things, change a shitload of other things to make the game way more interesting, because it has so many plot holes. It has so many parts of the game. Even when you played Ash, you were still asking even more questions. It's like, what the hell am I doing? Well, where am I going? Why am I doing this? Is this dude alive or not? What is it? Is he in a dream? You know what I'm saying? It was just like, what the hell is he really a clone? Should I care if he's a clone at this point? It was just too much shit going on. It became a very forgettable game, not a very enjoyable game. There are people out there that are still fan, but the fan base is very, very small, just like Evil Zone, just like Psychic Force. We're talking about really small groups of people who love these games. But seriously, this one needs a hard reboot. It has a lot of potential, and it didn't do it right the first time, and then Ash, and then I keep seeing stuff about Galarian's Rion. I don't even know what Rion's about. Somebody, if you want to talk to me about that, let me know on YouTube, but I'm not going to look into it, because I'm pretty much done with this. It just needs a hard reboot, a hard one. But this will come to the very last game. This is one game that I could have played, was going to buy, but I read a review and it swayed me from getting it, which is Vampire Hunter D. That was one game that I would have got if it wasn't for the fact that I read the wrong review. I read a review from a magazine that usually was sold at this place called Suncoast, or Suncoast, or whatever it's pronounced. And the magazine was, I think it was called An America. I read the review. The guy was just sitting, everything was bad about the game. The only thing he pretty much said, he was spot on, because I've heard everybody else say the same exact thing. The controls were very tank-like. He said it reminds you of Resident Evil, but slightly worse. And back in those days, a lot of games that were in that style, they didn't have great controls anyway. So it's either get used to it or don't play it. And I played the hell out of Resident Evil games, so I would have got used to that. And it wouldn't have took long. I just noticed that the enemies were pretty relentless, and I would have loved that, because I don't like easy games. So when I look on YouTube now as an adult, I'm just pissed, because I'm like, man, I saw that game. It was ultra rare. You can't just get it. You can't just get this game. And I had that game physically in my hand, and I was like, man, I should have bought it. Should have bought it. I shouldn't have listened to those stupid reviews, because now I'm looking on YouTube. The music is great. The voice acting is, for its age, really great. And I was like, I'm just shocked that it did so well. And then I'm sitting here also looking at the fact that it wasn't exactly had anything to do with the movie, and it still was good. You know, the actual second movie with Bloodlines, that was just bad, and I think that's why a lot of people didn't like the game, because they thought the game was gonna be like the movie, and the movie was really bad, and it was like, oh shit. It was just all over the place. So it's like, man, I hate Bloodlines. There's some other people that love it, but I'm not gonna get into that, which I will get to the last part of this review, and that's, well, not review, last part of this video, and that is going to be that another game that I really wish I got a chance to play, but once again, Capcom killed the series, and that was Dino Crisis. Never got to play not near one of these versions. Never played the first, never played the second, and thank the Lord I never played the third, because all I had to hear was dinosaurs in space. I was like, I'm backing away slowly, because I've already heard something else like that. Wasn't that Jason? Yeah, Jason running around in space. Yeah, that's scary. Whatever. I never got to play this, and that's another Resident Evil type game that you would have loved. And I was like, man, all these games I missed, and that's what mostly what this is about. These are a lot of games that I didn't get the chance to play, and I know there's a lot of other people out there saying the same exact thing. I didn't get to play that either, or I didn't get to beat it. I would love Dino Crisis to not get a reboot. Please, please, please do not reboot this game. Do not reboot it in any way, shape, or form. It just needs an update. And I think the first step would be, you know, with an HD release, get people back interested in it. And I'm not sure that if it's been released yet. I doubt that it has, but if it's in the works, then great. If not, something's wrong. Because Dino Crisis most definitely needs a HD release. Then on top of that, the whole franchise needs to be updated. What they could do is just do the game over, you know, have all put everything. It could be just like Resident Evil Remake, something like that, as an update. I would welcome that. I really would. Now, with that said and done, these are all the games that I felt top 10, top 11 games in my opinion that really needed either an update, re-release, or a reboot. I'm gonna sit there and say that I didn't get all the games. Most of the games I didn't get because they're Capcom games. I played a lot of those, and not because I was just a fan of Capcom games. It's just I went where it was good, so I didn't get a chance to play everything. But the ones that I did get to play, I played the hell out of them. So I'm gonna sit there and say I'll end it with a lot of honorable mentions. I'm not gonna have anything right off the top of my head, but I'm gonna sit there. At the end of the vid, I'll show some games, like some pictures of some games that, in my opinion, would make some great, that really needs some either updates or releases or something like that. One that comes right off the mind is, what is it called? It's Chaos Legion. That's one that probably needs something like that. Another game, the Onimusha franchise. I don't really think that needs any reboots or anything like that. I just think it needs a proper Onimusha 4. I think it needs something like that. At the end of this vid, you'll see some more games that I can't think of right off the top of my head. But other than that, you guys take it easy, and peace out.
You don't remember?
For you.
The day Bison graced your village was the most important date of your life. But for me, it was Tuesday.